Wall jumps in Deadlock completely changed the game. You've got a brand new movement ability that does not require stamina. And unlike sliding, it can be done everywhere. And it can be done in ways that allow you to get an advantage over your enemy, travel the map faster, and do things that would otherwise cost you a lot of stamina. When you master wall jumping, you're going to feel like you wish you did it sooner. Wall jumping in Deadlock is such a useful tool. So let's break it down. Let's talk about how to wall jump effectively, and then the advanced stuff that you can use in the map to really get an advantage over your enemies. Before we get into the high level movement stuff, let's talk about how a wall jump actually works in Deadlock and how you can do it yourself, because it is very different to, say, Apex Legends. Firstly, like Apex, you do need to press space when you hit the wall. However, you also need to do something else, which is really important. You need to press the direction key that is the opposite of how you are traveling. So for example, if we want to do a wall jump walking towards this wall by pressing the W key, we then need to jump and then midair, get ready to press the S and space key together when we hit the wall. So we're going to walk forwards and then press the S and space key, and that will then execute the wall jump. So once again, here's how it works. And you'll hear that sound effect, and you'll see that no stamina is lost. That is how a wall jump is triggered. Now, we can also do it in other directions. It doesn't just have to be forwards like this. And I'll explain how to do the other directions in a second. I just want to drop one quick tip. A lot of people may do this. They may try and do a wall jump, and they're not really understanding why sometimes they are sort of like doing a double jump instead. Probably because you're doing it too soon. Look at how long you can wait before you can hit the wall jump here. Like, you got a good amount of time. You got to make sure you hit that wall first and then do it. And if you're struggling, slow it down and start slow and then build up the speed. Otherwise, you're going to just keep hitting the wall like that with a double jump. So start slow, and then you can start getting into the flow of things, and then you're going to be good to go. Now, to do a sideways wall jump, you just go into the wall sideways, and then once again, when you hit the wall, press the opposite direction key along with the spacebar. So pretty much the same thing, right? Now you can do it on this side as well, but that also means, yes, you can do it backwards as well. So yeah, you have 4 different directions of wall jumps. So no matter where you are, you can literally stand here and just do that to get a nice little boost. Now, there are some really cool mechanics available for wall jumping that tie into the rest of the game, starting with what I like to call Mantle wall jumps. Pretty straightforward. So we can't jump up here without a double jump normally, right? Which uses stamina. However, with a Mantle wall jump, we can now get up like that, right? We just wall jump into the mantle. Now, to make sure this works and we don't accidentally use any of our stamina, we essentially need to hold down the space bar as we come out of the wall jump, and that will ensure when we get into the hitbox of the mantle, it will happen no matter what. So we can stand right in this corner and basically just mantle up. It's almost like we just get a free jump upwards, right? So that's pretty cool. You may feel like the number of places you can wall jump mantle are limited, but when you learn this next trick, you'll realize actually the opportunities for this are limitless. Let's say you want to get up to this mid-bridge in lane. A normal double jump and a mantle would be required without wall jumps, but by using this next trick, it is still possible with a wall jump. See, here's the thing. When you do a normal forwards wall jump on a low object, you'll just mantle it and no wall jump will happen. But if you do a sideways wall jump, you won't mantle it, meaning we can clear this bridge with no wasted stamina and many other areas across the map. Learning to sideways wall jump will allow you to wall jump on really low objects, allowing you to get some cheeky angles or jump onto other areas without wasting your stamina and also saving a lot of time on the map. Okay, so before we move on to some more advanced wall jump stuff, here's a quick trick you can do on lane. You can do a backwards wall jump off this wall, jump in the air, and you get a real nice peek on the enemy on lane. Okay, so we've got the basics down, and we know now how to wall jump mantle over basically anything. So let's look at how we can combo wall jumps into dashes and other movement. This is where creativity will come into play, and I kind of just want to lay the groundwork so you can get out there and experiment to see what works for yourself. I can't say right now how OP or not wall jumping may be mid-fight or how useful it will be in different circumstances, but I can give you the tools to really push it to the limits and find out for yourself across your own skill level, and I think that's what's important here. So one good tip is that you can wall jump no matter what you've done previously. You can just walk off a building, dash, slide, or even jump off the zipline from base, and it can still lead into a wall jump. This can have some pretty interesting effects because most people expect the wall jump needing to be necessary from the ground. You don't need to start the wall jump from the ground. You could be flying through the air, dashing, and still hit a wall jump, which is pretty cool. So as you can see, we can be pretty creative to add a wall jump into our chain of movement to basically always get more distance, more corners turned, or more height with the same amount of used stamina. There is one exception to this rule though. If you have wall jumped, you can't then wall jump off another surface until you've touched the ground again. Good thing is, you really only need to touch the ground for a split second. So a quick hop off the ground can then lead straight into another wall jump, which can have some pretty interesting effects. And we'll talk about how you can sort of chain wall jumps a little bit later, but first I need to explain how air strafing works with wall jumping. When you wall jump, you don't have much control over your movement mid-air. You essentially always go in the opposite direction you are aiming at, and your movement can just about be controlled left or right with your aim. But there is one thing you can do mid-air with your movement and direction, and that's just press against your current direction, and that will essentially stop your movement mid-air. This can be useful if you want to get that to the ground quicker, or to make sure that you land on walls or more smaller areas that you may miss otherwise. And it can be used to perfectly cut your wall banks just before another wall, so you can essentially chain wall jumps back to back. So when you combine all of this knowledge together, alongside all of the other movement elements on the map, and maybe even some of Deadlock's movement-based abilities, it'll open up a whole world of new ways to travel across Deadlock's map. So you can see how wall jumping pairs with basic movement. Here's a couple more things. I want to showcase some cool wall jump mechanics based on different characters. First things first, you may have seen that you can actually wall jump into a heavy attack, which is pretty cool. But a lot of the character abilities actually pair well with wall jumps too. Check this out.
Nothing stops me.
It's a nice little jump in the air that you can then dash into a player with, which feels pretty fun. The extra height you can get from a wall jump helps with 7's ult as well. Check this out. So, you know, that extra height can go a long way. I think my favorite has to be the paradox thing though. Like, for some reason, this extra speed kind of goes crazy with it. You get some crazy movement. And it should come as no surprise that it is kind of tied with your movement speed. Like, you can get more movement speed, and that will lead into a bigger wall jump. So, yeah, late game wall jumps can become even more useful. So that's wall jumping and Deadlock. If you found this video useful, make sure to subscribe because I'll be covering a bunch more Deadlock stuff very, very soon. See you in the comments. Cheerio!